This is the Shadow Chronicles podcast. We are here to take a deep dive into the inner work, generational trauma, and your shadows. Having those hard conversations so you don't have to. You know, all of that shit that just does not get spoken about. In the third drawer down, in the dark, hidden away. My name is Sky and I'm a shadow integration specialist. I am here to help guide you on your journey to unfuck yourself by integrating your shadows, healing the generational trauma so you can vibrate with confidence and just fucking love your life.
And my name is Todd, who's an integrative health coach. I help people own more of who they are, change their lives on many different levels to become who they really are. Find your compass and follow it, to say it simply.
And we're back.
In case it matters, the gesture I just made at you wasn't to tell you to shut up. It was to close your mouth so the midgie didn't fly into it.
Fucking midgies following me around.
Because apparently you guys have missed some drama already. Bug-based drama.
Oh, this is the thing. It's one little black fucking midgie won't leave me alone. It's followed me all the way through your house today.
Sorry. It's okay. On behalf of the universe and my house. Apparently the just dysregulated disrepair that I've left it in.
Yeah. All the kale that it was out there trying to eat, like you've taken it away now. How dare you?
Why is it chasing you then?
Fuck, I don't know.
But yes, don't leave your mouth open for it to fly in. I feel like that would be bad.
Totally bad. But not really here to talk about the midgie that's stalking me.
Not exclusively.
Not exclusively. There's a bit more of a deeper diver on than last week episode. Diving, because I speak proper English. On perception filters.
Mm-hmm.
And wanting to dive even deeper into like your brain is always looking for evidence, whether good or bad, depending on the messages that you give it, the framing that you're giving it, you know, control versus perfectionism, all of the good things.
In a very, at least superficial way, it's almost the same thing.
Yes.
The perception filter is the thing by which you absorb the circumstances around you.
Mm.
The looking for evidence is the way in which you attach meaning to the things that you're perceiving.
Yeah. Good,
bad, right, wrong, all of the above, whatever.
Mm.
What if a midgie flying into your mouth is a good thing? It's like extra protein, good for you.
Well, like the minute little amount of protein, rightio.
Maybe it's got good microbacteria that adds to your biome. I'm struggling for tenuous ways in which to make that a good thing.
Yeah, I know.
With this as a subject, we could talk about self-fulfilling prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about the reticular activation system, which is an element of your brain that actually does the filtering in and out on a conscious level of everything you're perceiving in and of the moment. I think we touched on that last week.
I think we did, yeah, the different sections of your brain.
Yeah.
Or we could even dive into how this subject itself is why mindset is everything.
A big deal.
You know, because if your mindset is trash and
thinks that you are trash as well.
Well, if you're constantly saying to yourself, like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm trash, I'm not good enough, all of the things, then you're constantly going to be finding all of the ways and the whys of why you're not good enough.
And finding the deeper meaning is or at least assigning a deeper meaning to why things happen the way they do around you. It's like, well,
bad shit always happens to me because I'm trash.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the word of the day, trash. It's going to go with beige.
We've certainly hit a pretty high standard already.
Yeah.
You've gone out hard at the gates. There was a study about luckiness done about 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked about it on the potty yet.
No.
I think I mentioned it to you separately. But you know the study I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The premise of the study is that it was trying to determine what what actually happened to people who consider themselves lucky and unlucky. Basically what happened was that you catch a taxi into an airport taxi rank. You get out of the taxi. There's $50 sitting on the cement pavement just next to the taxi rank. Now, I think it was about 160 people in the study. All but 2 people who said, I am lucky, saw the note, picked it up, walked away.
Yeah.
Literally every single person who said, I am unlucky, didn't see it, walked past it, walked straight over it.
Wow.
And the point of it is to, like, you get it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, the point of it is that,
Like, holy shit, I'm lucky there's $50.
yeah.
And
But
it just proves...
whether it's lucky or not,
Yeah.
like it's almost not the point
No, but...
of the randomness of the universe.
Yeah.
It's your ability to perceive opportunities to be right about being lucky or indeed unlucky.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the premise of what we're trying to talk about today.
Yeah.
Just thought it was a good example of like, well, this is what we mean.
Mm.
And when you were talking about like, you know, if your mindset's trash, if you just think you're unlucky,
Yeah.
the inclination to make you feel safe and right
Yeah.
in that belief, you're looking for that shit.
Well, that's it. Or it's like if you believe that all bad things happen to you, well, then all the bad things are going to be happening for you because that's all you can see. You no longer are able or willing to see all of the good things. It's just all of the bad things are then highlighted because bad things happen to everybody.
And even then, as in if and when good things do happen, you don't trust it.
No.
It's like, what am I being set up for? or something like that. So we've spent many, many weeks talking about the idea of like, how does your partner treat you? Where do your boundaries sit and all this sort of stuff. A lot of those I would sort of describe as the outcomes and the necessary action to change what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
It's like if you believe that you're deserving of a partner who treats you a certain way, and whether that's because you've learned it or this sort of stuff, and you've had it pre-prescribed and programmed into you that this is what relationships look like. So why wouldn't you go looking for that?
Yeah.
It's what you think is normal.
Or even if you're not purposely looking for it, it just tends to fall into your lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And almost, you know, well, if you are doing it, then there is that underlying belief that you are not good enough or anything like that. But I know I have mentioned this on, like, you know, previous podcasts when it comes to partners and relationships is that you teach other people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So if you're treating yourself like trash, there's that word again.
Yeah.
Then like, and I'm like, it's definitely like a sledgehammer of a hard truth because it's like, well, what do you expect? You're not going to expect someone to come in and treat you like the king or the queen when you're treating yourself like trash. They're going to come in and go, well, this person doesn't care. I can do what the fuck I want. Woohoo. You know.
And why wouldn't they think that if that was the inclination that they had? You
know, but if you walk in with that, you know, knowing of like self-worth and boundaries and non-negotiables and stuff, which we have spoken about beforehand, and your mindset is there of going, well, I have these boundaries for myself. This is not what I am and what I'm not willing to be putting up with because I am worth more, and you know, believe that, then you're going to attract people that come into your life that will honor those boundaries, even if they're unsure about them. But the minute you place them, then they're going to go, okay, cool, I get it, that's fine, you know, and because they can see that you hold yourself at a higher standard. So, yeah. And I think I went off topic there.
No, that because I was about to sort of go a little further with it and say that it's not just the people that you train.
Well, it's yourself too.
You in a way perceivably train the universe, or at least your perception of how the universe treats you. So, like, you know, we could go into quantum mechanics and all that sort of stuff, and like the world changes to adapt to your perception in the same way that you adapt to what you perceive and all that sort of carry on. But if the meaning that you assigned to the way the world seems to work according to you, like it's not just people, it's
everything. Yeah, that's it.
And just to counterbalance the trashes, why wouldn't the world become beige? Why wouldn't it be eventually at some level treated like just the way things are, like it's out of your control?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who sort of work on the sort of manifestation ideas, law of attraction, all that sort of stuff.
Same principle,
just attempting to move in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Like they are attempting to reframe how they see the world and the energy that flows through it in a way that invigorates and enlivens their life, as opposed to makes it just a thing outside of your control that is beige at best.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, with the manifestation part of that, a lot of that we work on things like modeling and stuff like that, because, like as I just said, it's the same thing but opposite. So, you know, your brain always looks for evidence, whether, you know, good, bad, right, wrong. It always looks for evidence. So if you know, think that everybody's going to leave you at the end of the day and nobody loves you because, you know, you're trash and everyone eventually leaves, and then when said person leaves, it's like,
see, I fucking told you.
Yeah, see, I fucking told you so. Like I told you, everyone just leaves. But then if you're like, well, this is who I am, or this is who I want to be, and, you know, when we talk about manifestation, I talk about a process of modeling, which is a process of going, well, who, you know, how would that person be, do, act if they had that thing, whatever the thing is that you want?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, how would they think? What would their mindset be like? What are the things that they would be saying to themselves? Yeah. All of those sort of things, and you adopt that. And it's almost like, I think the easiest way that I can explain it is, you know, in the fitness industry, when we're talking about weight loss and stuff like that, one of the things, you know, when people come to me and are like, oh, I want to lose 10 kilos, I want to lose 20 kilos, whatever else. I'm like, well, can you act? And, you know, well, what would that give you? Well, that would give me confidence. That would give me this. That would give me that. I would have more self-worth. You know, all of the things. And I'm like, well, can you act as you've already lost the weight? Can you act as that person with self-confidence? Can you act, you know, can you talk to yourself like you've already lost the weight? Because the weight's not necessarily the problem. It's the thing upstairs that's telling you, you know, you are all this because of that.
It's the attempt to create your own evidence.
Yeah.
I think I've brought up a couple of clients that I've had over the years where that's very much been the case for them. It was like, if they still believe they're Fat Julie, and that's all they see in the mirror, regardless of what progress they do and don't make on the scales,
it's not gonna make a fucking difference.
There is an inevitability to them going backwards, which is effectively self-sabotage at the end of the day. So, like, in this context, you can manifest your life being able to move in a more positive direction or indeed a negative direction. And so when I brought up the reticular activation system, it's this element in your brain that filters in on a conscious level all of the things around you that you're perceiving. We talked about the game Spotto.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't think of a pink elephant.
Similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like your brain doesn't understand the negative. It just understands what's important, or at least on that subconscious level, which is part of where, like, that's where your reticular activation system sits. So all it's doing is filtering in things that you've primed it to believe is important. Now, if that's be treated like trash or make decisions to make the world a little bit more beige because at least it's predictable that way, as opposed to interesting, exciting, engaging, fulfilling. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's a you thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And the more you sort of learn about, like, quantum mechanics and all this sort of stuff, the more it looks like the universe responds according to that. So when all you do is identify as a condition, I am unlucky.
Yeah.
That is such a profound, egoic, all-encompassing kind of statement to make about yourself that there's only so much arguing with yourself you can do. There's only so many things that other people could do to try and convince you of that not being the case. It's just not going to hold any water.
No. Got the squinty eye thing going on here.
And then we asked the genuine question, as we've pretty much done for the last I don't know how many weeks. It's like, well, why would you be fucking happy with that?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's probably answered by the second part of what the premise of today's episode is about.
Yeah.
The perfectionism and the control.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's shitty, but it's predictable.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there such a color as trash beige? Is it got like little, it's generally beige, but it's got like little splotch marks of like gross green and baby poo yellow and stuff like that?
Oh, dear.
Have I just gone too far?
I think it's maybe a little bit out the other side there.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. It's one of those things that, you know, when I do a lot of the work that I have done with my clients and stuff like that, like obviously I go through their breakthroughs, all of the things, and it's just like, you know, what do they fear? And it's always failure. Always fear failure. Well, I'm sorry, sweetie, you actually don't fear failure. You fear success. And they're like, what? And I break it down because I'm like, well, like as you just said, failure is predictable. You know what that is.
It's fucking easy.
You've been there before. How many times have you been there? Yeah. Like, you know, and on the flip side of that, there's actually no such thing as failure. But it's like, so.
But that's it. It's the whole point of this conversation. It's how you frame it. But anyway.
Yeah. You know, you've been there before. It's predictable. You can control that. That's why you self-sabotage. You self-sabotage to keep yourself safe because it's predictable. If you automatically think that you're not going to succeed because you always fail, then, well, you're not going to succeed and you're going to fail. And then there's the brain going, well, fucking told you so.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that you fear is not failure itself. It's success, because the success is in that space of the unknown. It's the space. Well, it's the space that you don't have control. And, you know, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And that's actually what you want. You don't want to know what the outcome's going to be, because then it's not predictable. My NLP and my hypnotherapist master practitioner, so, you know, one of the guys that taught me everything I know in that world, you know, he said the unknown is the greatest resource, because there you can go find what you need.
We haven't really gone into it yet, but eventually we'll do episodes based on the masculine and feminine, the chaos and the order and all that sort of stuff. But the whole point of the chaos of the universe is by which to have potential.
Well, for you to change.
For creation.
Yeah, for you to change, you need to invite chaos.
And be secure enough in yourself to allow that to be a thing that may or may not serve you, and ultimately, I'm going to say that better, that may not be exactly what you were trying to predict, but providing that you're in that growth mindset, it will serve you one way or the other. It's like, I learned how I failed that way. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, the other part of that is like, there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. You know, if you take failure as the, you know, as the stuck, non-moving thing, well, then you're not going to fucking go anywhere. That's all you're going to filter for. Yeah. That's all evidence you're going to get. Your brain's going to give you all that sort of stuff, you know, and some level of that, you're okay with that because it's predictable. You're in control of it that way. Yeah. You know, if you take it as feedback and go on, like, as you just said, well, that didn't fucking work, not doing that again. Yeah. How can we make things different? How can we change this so this doesn't happen again? And then you move forward, and that's, you know, process and progress.
It's not win or lose, it's grow, it's win or learn.
Yeah, and it's, you know, so one of the mindset reframes that I get a lot of my clients to do is like, I'm not a failure, I'm learning, like as you just said. You know, and because what happens then is you know, open up your mind from finding all of the ways that you're a failure to finding all of the ways that you are learning. You're finding all these new opportunities that you can, or all these new pathways that you can go down.
Teal Swan talks about the idea that there's no such thing as self-sabotage.
No, it's a safety mechanism due to trauma.
In that, when most people refer to self-sabotage, what they're actually describing is an alternative set of priorities that are being acted out and so dominant that they keep you stuck.
Yep.
Which is conflicting with the things that you say that you want. It's not sabotaging, it's getting you what you want. It's just that you haven't addressed what you actually really want on a deep enough, emotional, healed enough level to be, again, it's that secure enough in yourself to deal with the chaos of what it would look like if you didn't have that predictable result of failure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think I seen that talk. And yeah, she like I 100% agree with her and she's right. It's not there's no such thing as your brain is wired like that due to circumstances, conditioning, trauma, all of those sort of things. It's just, to keep you in the known, to keep you safe, to keep you, it's like,
It's just a different set of priorities that don't align with what you say you want. It's just currently stronger. It's more you're more invested in that for the time being.
Yeah, it's more of a case of it's more of a case of like you say, I want to do the shadow work for example. Yeah, I really want to do the shadow work, but I always seem to self-sabotage and I always go back. Well, did you really go back or did you just get triggered and, it activated something and then you just gone, oh, fuck, I'm failed. I might as well just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Happens all the time with diets as well.
Yeah,
it's like I ate this. Fuck it. I'll start again on Monday. I've failed so many times. What?
Yeah. And
so
then,
the old, sorry.
That's okay. Rather than, so you're saying you want this, but then your actual own, image of self and that part of you that you haven't actually activated yet, like your worth and all that sort of stuff. It's not there enough to be like, this is really what I want and I'm going to do whatever it takes necessary to be able to do this.
The pain of change is not less than the pain of staying the same yet.
Yeah. Or the pain of change, or the pain of staying the same needs to outweigh the pain of change for change to occur.
I said it
backwards.
Just the other way around.
And it's true because it's like one of the things I say all the time is like, how much pain do you need to be in before you fucking move?
And
and then even if you want to go on that level as well, we can always talk about, when it comes to your brain looks for evidence and stuff like that, is looking at things like what we call secondary gain. So what are you gaining from being in that same space?
The affirmation of who you believe you are on that egotistical personality level. It's like, I can't get anywhere because universe. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's like, well, cool. How's that pocket full of winnings feeling?
Yeah.
You get to be right about sucking.
Well done. Well, it's more of a case of like, if you're gaining something more being how you are, then you're going to have a battle to change. And I guess a good example for this, and again, sledgehammer hard truth is like I'm going to use depression for example. And I know someone who is clinically depressed, but he's not doing anything about it. And it's like, oh yeah, I need to do something about it. I want to do something about it. I can't, or, whatever the case.
Shoulds.
Shoulding, the have to's and all that sort of stuff. And then when I stood back because, part of me is just like, what the fuck? You're admitting that you have an issue. You're admitting that you've got this, but you're making every single excuse under the sun of why you can't. Brain looks for evidence, and when you make all those excuses on why you can't, then you're going to find all and more of those reasons on why you can't. And I took a step back and I'm like, okay, what's happening here? And what I found out and what happens a lot as well is this person was getting more attention from being in this state, which was fulfilling an emotional
There's
need.
a level of martyrdom to that.
So if they were to make a change and, overcome do the healing work, whatever the case may be, to rebalance the chemicals in the brain, because, there's now studies out to prove that the chemical imbalance within the brain that is the cause of depression is actually changeable. It's not a stuck, fixed thing. It's, you unbalance them due to, trauma, your conditioning, your upbringing, all of those sort of things.
Lifestyle factors.
So you can actually rebalance them back out again, whether that's through therapy, medication, change of environment, like all of the things, right? But because this person was gaining that level of attention being in that state, like they wouldn't change. They wouldn't make that change because that meant they would lose that part, that validation, that, and it's like, the same hypnotherapist, he was telling me a story of, this woman who was on disability because she had a fear of driving. Mm-hmm. Something must have happened and all this sort of stuff. So she went to have some hypnotherapy sessions to overcome this fear, find the root cause, heal the wound, heal the trauma, and it worked. She was able to drive again. She could leave the house, all of this sort of stuff. But when she realized that because now she could leave the house and she could drive, she actually had to go get a job. And her disability pension was taken away from her.
Yeah.
All of a sudden that fear came back.
Ego is pretty wild.
Right.
Gets you coming and going if you let it. That story, the story you told before then, and the conversation to have in general is that I'm happy to sit here and argue that all of those things are only true if you are not centered and balanced enough within yourself and your own internal validation, that the external validation cannot reinforce the behaviors that let you feel validated and martyred and all that. It's that bucket of crabs conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, if you continue to validate and prefer the
beige,
that'll do.
Yeah.
The pity,
whatever it is.
Look, and maybe not today, but the colossal difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
Like if you prefer empathy over, if you prefer sympathy over empathy,
yeah,
I'm happy to sit here and say that's enablement. Why on earth would you address who you are and how you choose to be? And whatever causes get you to that place as the preferential level of beige, trash beige, you're not going to change because you're getting that dopamine fix by being crap.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And it's I lost it now.
We can become addicted to guilt and shame and all these, and this is the point.
Stress is addicting. Shame is an addiction. People pleasing is an addiction.
It's like perfectionism. What we first started with as well. It's like it's a method by which you feel more like you, even though it's a miserable, trash beige version of you.
Well, even like perfectionism itself is we know there's no such thing as self-sabotage, but it's a form of like what we would call self-sabotage because you're never going to do the thing because it's, in your brain, it's never going to be right. It's never going to be perfect.
No such thing as perfection.
So it's another form of control to keep you in the same, to keep you in the known. It's like, you're not perfect, so don't bother.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it right, so don't bother, and
it's a way to keep yourself pressurized.
Right. It's a way to make excuses of whys and hows that you apparently can't do said thing.
Yeah. No one will love me if I'm not perfect.
Yeah. And
cool.
And all of those sort of things, like no one will love me if I'm not perfect, that perfectionism and what we just spoke about, with, the, looking for evidence and secondary gain and stuff like that. They're all linked to like negative beliefs or negative decisions that have been implanted because no negative belief or negative decision that you have is not actually yours. You've just decided to take it on as yours, and every time
it's a meaning it's been assigned.
It's a meaning that's been assigned to that, and you've replayed it in your brain enough times that it's now your own voice, and you believe it, and because you believe it, that's what you're filtering for, and then your brain's finding you evidence to compound that belief. I can't do anything to help my depression because then I won't get the attention anymore. And it's like, or right, or I can't do the thing because it's not going to be perfect, or no one will love me because I'm not perfect. Well, that's a nice little compounding negative limiting belief you got there.
Way to spin that out into a vicious circle.
Right. And then everything that you do is going to come back to evidence of why, no one loves you because you're not perfect, apparently.
So the vicious circle is the analogy. That everything's going on the perimeter of the circle and nothing's going on inside the circle. And to sort of take it back to something I said a couple of seconds ago is that if you're not centered within yourself, if you don't have any fucking clue of who you are, it's like, why wouldn't you get spun out by all this stuff and this validation externalized to you?
That becomes who you are.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like you adopt that stuff to the point where that's all you've got. And the reason why people, like the story you said before about like, I want to do the shadow work. And then when it actually comes down to it, they do not. Because it would represent leaving behind a tethering to reality that you've come to rely on. That if you let go of, you're just adrift in the world. And if you've got no idea of who you are and haven't really spent any time getting to know you, let alone reinforcing the value of who you are.
Yeah.
You just adrift in the chaos of the universe.
Yeah.
No wonder it's so fucking scary.
Yeah, definitely. Which, like, as we were, I think, chatting just before we hit record, is why we always work on things like awareness first. If
you don't know what's going on, how do you fix anything?
Well, that's it. I've had people come to me and be like, I dived into shadow work and it was too much, so I got out, I pulled out of it. And then obviously, because I speak proper English, what's actually happened is they've recognized something within themselves, their shadows and stuff like that. So they've dove into the darkness.
Oh shit.
And went, oh shit, and dived back out. But the thing is, they're now aware of what's down there, and they're aware of all the shit that they put down there.
Can't unlearn that stuff, guys.
You can't unlearn that. You can't I'm like, oh shit, I can't just like close my mind off now. So now not only that,
you can try. Usually ends up with alcoholism or drug overdoses or some sort of what. That's a bit of a misnomer, but you know what I mean, right?
So now now they've pulled out and gone, well, that's too hard, and they've run away from it, but it's still there. Like they've still got whatever shitty ass belief that they're running through their system and cycling in. Plus, they've now got the awareness of all of the shit that they stuck into the shadows as well going on.
Which in that kind of person would make them cling harder to those. So when we were talking about perception filters, and it was sort of like, it's kind of like this glass case, this jigsaw puzzle border sort of thing.
Yeah.
It becomes almost its own prison. It's like you're imprisoned by your own behavioral adaptations to your own bullshit.
Yeah.
It sounds worse in the headphones than it really is.
Okay. I just put a glass bottle on a glass table. I was like, oh crap.
And it went clonk.
Mate, that was louder than expected. Yeah, well, that's it. You're putting yourself in a box.
Yeah. And then when you shatter some of the border of that box and everything pours in, or worse, you fall out.
Yeah. Pandora's box opens.
Yeah. And sorry guys, you can't unlearn that stuff. And the efforts you have to go to pretend like that stuff doesn't exist anymore, it gets wild.
Well, yeah, hello mental breakdown.
To put it mildly, mate.
Well, you're literally on a, fun, fast track road to fucking,
hospitalization.
Grippy socks. Sorry.
think I speak for everyone listening when I say that's going to need an explanation.
Mr. Judgy face at me. Oh dear. No.
Come on. Come on.
Oh. So.
Better be awesome. Just saying.
No, it's not awesome. It's terrible. Well, 9 times, depending on the level of breakdown that you have, depending on the floor that you fucking end up hitting, a lot of the times when you run away from shit that fucking hard that you end up in a complete and utter breakdown, you 9 times out of 10 end up having to go to the mental ward in the hospital. And, you know, we tend to wear grippy socks in hospitals.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation. I had my suspicions about that, where that was going. I was like, do you need grippy socks? Because when you're on that smooth, slick glass see-through surface of the perception filters that if you wear regular socks for, you end up just running in place on like you're on a treadmill, and you need grippy socks to actually get some fucking traction to get anywhere.
Have you not heard the grippy sock analogy?
I have not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Man, but the judgy face you just gave me.
Apologies, it wasn't supposed to be that judgy. It was more like a, all right, let's see where this is going.
No, I got that like horrible look of like, Sky, you didn't think before you spoke then, and you just like put yourself in it.
Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that it doesn't make perfect sense in retrospect. But.
Yeah. Dear. But yes, so you run that fast away from your shit, you end up in grippy socks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fun. That's like, well, we don't want to be there.
Well, just you end up in straight jackets and padded walls, so
Right.
that when you run fast, you don't knock yourself out on the wall.
Well, a lot of times you end up becoming such a danger to yourself because, like, everything, you know, like this woman used this analogy. I cannot remember her name, but it's fucking brilliant. And anytime you suppress, which is running away from your shit, anytime you go through something and you suppress it, you're literally, you know, putting more trash into your body. Here's that lovely word, trash again. I knew this word had a fucking
That's what the shadow is for.
right? It's just like, you know, we're going to put some trash in.
Gross, trashy bits.
Yeah, no, and then we put some more trash in. The next time you go through something and don't process it, there's some more trash and then more trash. And all of a sudden you're all filled up with trash until you can't fucking hold any more trash in. It's, you know, the beach ball analogy, what goes down must come up. So you can only push shit down so much. You can only run away from shit so much before you springboard back right into the fucking shit.
Gee,
And
I wonder how CPTSD happens.
Right? You springboard all the way back into the shit and you've got no fucking choice then but to deal with said shit because you're fucking knee deep in it or neck deep in it or, you know, you're swimming around in it just like...
Or in that proverbial
Grippy
padded room in grippy socks.
You know, and it's just, you've literally fractionated yourself that much.
In case it needs saying, guys, confronting this shit is always a much better idea when it's your idea, not when it's your medical care professional's idea.
Well, that's it.
But the necessity of owning that and being aware of that so that you can confront it on your terms matters.
Well, that's it. How many levels of burnout do you have to get to? You know, before it's not, oh, I'm just a shit person, I can't cope with anything, till it turns into, okay, there's something fucking here and I need to deal with this.
Yeah. And, you know, if you're lucky, you hear something like this, or you have that level of GP who you happen to go in and they just see or hear you say the right or wrong thing, depending on you, when you want to frame it.
Yeah.
To go,
there's something going on
you
here.
get asked the right question in the right frame of mind, in the right moment for you to go, maybe. Have been feeling super shitty for the last decade.
Yeah. Wonder why that could be.
But it's that old, you can't avoid the trap. You can't disarm it if you don't know there's a trap.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, everything that we're talking about is the ego setting traps for you by which to keep you in this singular place because it's easier that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy and effort in confronting old bullshit, let alone becoming something more. It demands effort and energy and intent. There's no way around that. There's no cheat code. Maybe mushrooms.
Yeah. Bit of LSD.
But even then, that is to give you a bit of a blank slate by which to have a good hard fucking look as opposed to fix anything.
Well, it's a good scaffolding, like, you know, in a way, especially if you know, do it with practitioners that are practiced in that. Practitioners are practiced.
I know what you meant.
Yeah, I know you know what you meant. But yeah, you know, definitely don't recommend going and, you know, having full doses of mushrooms on your own and landing in your shit and then coming back in your shit and not knowing how to get out of your shit because, you know, so it's...
lifted the lid and there's just, there's nightmares and monsters in there.
Right, that's it. It's just, yeah. Like as I said, like once you go dive into the darkness, you can try and run away from it as much as you fucking want, but you're now aware of the damn thing. Like...
Sorry, just...
Now you're laughing.
There's a comedian I follow. His name's Carl Kinane. But he talks about this exact thing. He's like, you guys get to repress memories? Tell me how. Because that is your own brain saying, we don't want to remember that shit.
Yeah.
Let's put it over there. It's like... you start opening doors in your own head. It's like, oh, what's behind this door? Oh, no, nightmares. Oh, no. And he's like, this is just you now. It's like, well, you've opened the door. It's like we said about half an hour ago. You can't really unlearn this stuff.
Yeah.
Like once you remember that it's there, once you realize it's actually in you and it's a part of you, it's like, well, that's a thing now.
Yeah. And that thing will only keep getting worse until you deal with it. Like flashbacks, for example.
So... I use this analogy with a lot of people when it comes to roughly what we're talking about. So sort of the growth and the progression that is absolutely necessary. Whether it's trauma, whether it's the bitch version of you in the back of your head, keeping you minimized and...
Oh, the inner bitch, that's what I call her.
That's usually what I run with.
Yeah.
Inner bitch, inner dick, depending on how you choose to identify.
Yeah.
The idea being that the reason it's so scary to do this stuff is because there's this huge, big black monster of anger, resentment, depression, all those things that just sit badly in you.
Yeah.
And especially when you're invested in that as the thing. Invested is not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like when that's just the status quo. And you first need to start this stuff. I sort of, you look at it like a little bit of a, you know, the two wolves in you, which one do you feed sort of thing.
Yeah.
One's this huge, big, black, giant timber wolf of a fucking beast / bitch.
Yeah.
That seems so daunting and overwhelming because the bit that you're trying to feed is just this newborn puppy that can't even sort of open its eyes properly, let alone do anything to counterbalance the strength of that. But the bit that I usually seem to get the most response when I describe that scenario, it's like that, you know, you're fighting within your own head, you're fighting with your own shadow, and this is you who's just waking up to the idea that maybe it's not always going to be that way.
Yeah.
The big black timberwolf version of you will lose eventually because that version of you is invested in staying exactly the same. There is no growth. There is no progression. There is no adaptation. There is no adjustment. They will only ever be that strong.
Yeah.
On the proviso that you turn to face it. Whereas
the little puppy,
the version of you that is invested in growth will catch up and will be strong enough to confront the other side of you at some point. But seeing it for what that is in that initial framing of it. It's like that's why it's scary, because you are relatively weak and unarmed. The cool bit is when you become strong enough in that growth mindset version of you, that development of you, the real you, that you can confront the darker aspects within you and integrate that.
Yeah, definitely.
That is a part of you. It is a valuable part of you.
Yeah.
You need that part of you so you can get shit done. But the more you view yourself as at odds with yourself, like people describe them as demons. You know, those people, oh, my demons are at me again. So no, they're a part of you. They're a valuable part of you.
Yep.
We just haven't gotten to the place yet where you've integrated them, where they're on your team, and that's how it feels.
Yeah.
You've got two wolves going into bat for you. One's a big badass one, and one's getting that way.
Yeah, that's it.
We're just not there yet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, to follow on with that, because that's super cool, and I know we've just hummed on for like 40 odd minutes about, you know, how you're making your life trash. And just some feedback.
Beige flavoured trash.
Beige flavoured trash. Just some feedback.
Trash flavoured beige?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one feels better, doesn't it?
It's a bit flavoured. Yeah, because we got some feedback. Was it last week? Was I in the gym last week? Was it the week before? I don't know. Well,
you're in the gym a lot of those weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Just saying.
Well, one of our amazing listeners, who knows me personally, and knows you,
good,
gave me some feedback on the podcast in regards to, you know, it really resonates with him and stuff like that, but he kind of felt like a bit kicked in the teeth. So,
I remember this conversation.
Yes. Now, so, you know, on your Big Bad Wolf and all this sort of stuff, I'm going to give you some armor. Which is going to be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a practice I do with all of my clients. And this is one of my favorite things to do when we're talking about the inner bitch or the inner dick, whatever it is. Alrighty. As it's the Big Bad Wolf, it's big, it's loud, it's scary. It's the loudest thing in your fucking head, right? The easiest way, and because I'm all about simple shit, man. The easiest way for you to help to overcome is to not so much separate it from yourself, but give it a fucking identity that's separate from your own. It sounds like you, it's nice and big and loud and all this sort of fun stuff. Yeah, so of course you're going to fucking listen to it. So
it's Algernon the wolf. You
know, so what I do with a lot of my clients is to get them to give it an identity separate from their own. I tend to recommend like their bully from school, for example. It doesn't even have to be a real fucking person. It can be a fictional character. I've had clients that have like made them their mum. I've had clients that have, you know, made them
makes sense.
You know, Cruella de Vil from the 101 Dalmatians.
That's a pretty good villain.
Right? Like it's their villain, all right? So once you do that, then what you need to do is you create that full identity. Change the voice, you know, visualize it in your mind, how they would look and all that sort of thing. What you've now done is you've created space for yourself. And I'm putting the thing down, even though I'm not in video. You've created space from yourself. And now that you've created that space, you can actually have a conversation with it. Like you just said, it's a part of you. And the more that you hate on that part, the louder it's going to fucking get. You know, oh, fucking, you know, like
you are giving it strength by feeding it hate.
Yeah, you know, I always self-sabotage. I can never do anything right. No one ever loved me because I'm not perfect. All this is, you're feeding your inner bitch. You're giving it fucking ammunition. You know, and every time you do it,
it's looking for evidence. You're giving it evidence,
and that's it. You're giving it evidence, which is, you know, compounding that belief. All of those sort of things. So if you create an identity of someone that you don't like, that you don't listen to, you know, and all that sort of stuff, whether it's a fictional character, whether it's your mum, whether it's your high school bully, someone that you're just like, what, you know, you're like, you know, you don't affect me whatsoever.
What's the name of the wolf in The Never-Ending Story?
Oh, I can't remember now. But so you give it that identity.
Don't mind me.
Yeah, that gives you some space, and you can and this is really, really important because it is a part of you. Thank you. I honor you, but I've got this. Thank you for keeping me safe. But where I'm going, I don't need you anymore. And kick the bitch into the back corner. And the more you do that, because you can't just do it once. You know, I think there's
doesn't work like that.
Well, there's a
ego doesn't just go away.
Well, any sort of neuroplasticity work, any sort of neuropathway work, it's repetition, right? Yeah. And there's now a study out. There's something like 400 repetitions for something to become cemented.
Yep.
You know, so which means that it's going to be fucking loud the first time you do it. It's going to be really fucking loud the second time it comes up. And, you know, but it's a process that you need to go on because one, it's a pattern interrupt. So what you're doing is every time that little inner bitch or the dick or whatever you want to call it has, you know, come up and reared its ugly little head and telling you all the things that you can't do and on how shit you are and how much trash you are and all sort of stuff. If you can interrupt that and that puts a break into that, you know, thought pattern, once you put a break into it, then you put something into the break, which is, you know, another episode when we talk about you can't create space and not leave it. But you put something into that space, which is creating the identity so you can have a conversation with it and going, okay, thank you, I honor you, but where I need to go, I don't need you anymore. And you put it into that back corner. And every time she comes up or every time he comes up and goes, I've got this, you can go into the back corner. I've got this, you can go into the back corner. I've got this, you can go into the back corner. I'll call you when I need you.
That. I was waiting for that to come up because that shit matters.
Yeah.
That's how you integrate it. Because you don't want to just throw it back into the shadow.
No.
I know that's not what you're saying, but it's like, you know what the big 5 trait theory is when it comes to psychology? Openness, conscientiousness, what is it? Assertiveness. But one of them is neuroticism. It's the idea that you actually need a certain level of neuroticism. It's what keep you grounded and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But like if the analogy I use, it's a theory. It's like you are ruled by committee. You have these different aspects of you that represent those 5 voices. It's just that when you've been trained to give more power to that neurotic voice, this is what it seems like. It's sort of breaking the power of that being the dictatorship that is run by neuroticism, as an example.
Yeah.
As opposed to big bad wolf or bitch,
whatever the case
whatever
is.
sort of thing. Is that necessity to sort of expand your sense and idea of self to know that this is just an aspect of you as opposed to the dominant traits that require you to live accordingly.
Exactly.
So we talked about Jungian archetypal behaviors and things like that. It's like there's like 20 archetypes. If all you do is sit in like 2, it's like,
you're not
where is the rest of you?
You're not living to your full potential.
That. And then that's when that perception filter comes in. It's like it almost becomes that proverbial prison. It's like, oh, this is just me now. I'm just trash talking myself all the time.
Yeah.
And then that becomes so normalized, you are now beige.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Exactly.
If I remember that conversation you were describing correctly, it's like, oh, you know, you guys kind of like go at the nasty shit, but then it kind of leaves me feeling like I've been kicked in the teeth.
Yeah.
It's like the story you just told with the armor, with the recategorizing and recharacterizing of that aspect of you that eventually you realize has always been you, and that's the touchstone you never want to forget. It's like you still want to treat it with respect because it's still you.
Yeah.
But all of those things are said in relation to this person who sort of said, just can you leave it on a slightly more upbeat note, is that all of this is intended to be empowering.
Yeah.
It's like it takes a lot of vulnerability and strength to turn to face Big Bad Wolf / Cruella de Vil.
Yeah.
But that's the start. It's like, how else do you start anything? You stack your wings. You take your first step. How does an avalanche start? With one little pebble. Like it's what it is.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't seem like anything particularly empowering and profound because it's such a relatively small thing, how else do you want to start?
If you can take control of your mindset and the evidence that you give yourself, well, you're on your way. I was going to say you're on easy street, but you're not on easy street.
That's the first step.
But essentially it is. It's your first step. It's being able to, have those conversations within yourself. It's that ability to take a fucking step back from the shit that you're saying to yourself and going, hang on a minute, I want to change that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then you do that. And then you go, well, you know, as I just said, I've got this. It's okay. Yeah. I'm safe. And, you know, that, you know, the shield or, you know, the shadow or whatever else. I know if this helps anybody, I don't know. Like when I really, really first started my shadow journey, I had identified myself, I think, with 3 separate shadows. I named them all. So we had Jade. She was my warrior / my ego. See, she's important. I had Scarlet. That was like my sexuality side, all that sort of stuff that got shut down due to trauma. And then I had Louise. She was my inner child. Mm-hmm. So joy, happiness, flow, creativity, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. You know, like all of those sort of things. And for a long period of time, I was Jade. That was just who I was. And
keeps you safe.
She did. She kept me fucking safe.
That's the big bad wolf version.
You know, and
needed to be there.
But the kick in the teeth that I copped, that, you know, yeah, cool, she kept me safe, but really was I safe? Was because any time that she would come up was when I was getting unwanted dick pics in social media.
How very overreactive of you.
You know, unwanted advances and stuff like that. Yeah. But the interesting thing was when I was receiving those, my internal representation, so the shit I'd say to myself was, oh shit, what did I do to deserve that? What did I do wrong?
And that's where Scarlet and
Louise get,
those two sort of, Jade, quick.
Well, pretty much, yeah. Or she'll just like come there and go, fuck you, I got this shit. You know, you're fucking up again type thing and step in. But unfortunately, when she came up, anything that was, my emotions shut down, which means I wasn't present for my children. I wasn't present for my husband because I was completely shut down. I wasn't
present for you.
Well, that's it. And then, you know, I wasn't even present for me, you know, because I'd completely shut down because I was like, fuck, I've done something wrong. I need to shut down now. And the fun thing was when I was doing my own unconscious work going through this journey, you know, and this journey itself was a breathwork journey.
Yeah.
Super fun. Thank you to my amazing breathwork practitioner for holding space for me. I took us all down because I was like, I can't keep this battle anymore. It's exhausting, you know. So I took us all down and I sat them all down in a bonfire, like literally a campfire. And I sat them all down. I'm like, you 3 need to fucking work together because I can't do this anymore.
So that big 5 trait theory I was just describing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you're ruled by committee. Like you're a team. So there's different versions of you that are intended ideally to aim you in these different aspects at your highest good. Whatever that happens to actually tangibly be, well, you can figure that out. That's the point of having a team because you need Jade to be able to back your shit up when you need to. You need Scarlet to be able to
think sacral.
Embrace expressions of femininity that matter. And you need Louise to be able to go, why do I do anything?
Yeah.
Because it's fucking awesome.
Exactly. And yeah, so it was a fun journey because it was just like, literally, as I said, we can't all be hating on each other. You can't be hating on each other because we need to work together. Otherwise, you know, like, and that's it. And it was almost like, because in my situation, I found that Jade was taking over more so. And it was just like, you 2 need to step up and, you know, make sure, remind everyone that we're safe so she doesn't fucking take over, you know, and then be able to call her in when needed, as you just said. Yeah. And, you know, because like, as you said, we're a team and you can't be hating on the parts of yourself because then you're at war. I just sounded fucking physiological then.
No, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like having your immune function attack your own joints because you've eaten something. Like it just, it makes no sense. But this is usually where I use an analogy for a lot of people, which is like your body, your brain,
your ego is really, really clever and really, really dumb at the same time.
Yeah.
It will do really, really smart things to allow you to continue to be really, really dumb. That sounded judgy and it needed to.
But judgy in a way that's needed.
But it's like, is this serving you? When I say really, really dumb, I mean, are you doing things that hurt your own damn feelings? Are you doing things that stop you from being who you know you really are?
Yeah.
Because if the answer is yes, well, that seems kind of dumb. Or at least not particularly well thought out. Why wouldn't you apply that cleverness that was otherwise trying to avoid confronting those dumb things in a different direction? And that's exactly what you're describing in your story. It's like you're at war with yourself. You don't need to be.
Yeah.
Nobody is. It is a phenomenally unique person who is genuinely that evil that they need to be at war with themselves to suppress that shit. And even then, I'd say the majority of times, that's a very unhealed person.
So yeah, with that being said, like I guess a really cool question to ask yourself is, what evidence are you looking for? What is your internal representation? So what is the shit that you're saying to yourself? And if it's shit and you don't like it, let's reframe it. It all starts there. It starts with a simple,
what's really going on here?
What's really going on here?
So Neville Goddard says that the quality of the person you are is based on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Like I always run with that what's really going on here question.
Yeah.
And that's what you were leading to as well. I can't think of many better questions that are genuinely invested in valuable answers than that. Maybe who am I and what do I want?
Yeah.
But to be able to figure out those two, it kind of needs to be prefaced with what's really going on here. Am I being who I am? Am I moving towards what I want? Why do I want that? Yeah. Circular stuff, but.
Well, that's it. Because, if you don't pay attention, you'll pay with pain.
What was the subject of this episode again?
Your brain looks for evidence.
Yeah.
Hello, Tangentland?
Yeah.
Anybody?
It's only about 40 minutes worth. It's fine.
It's good. Well, have we, I don't know, sledgehammered the nail in home?
Have we been empowering enough at the end of this yet?
Love you.
What kind of evidence do you want?
Yeah.
Evidence that you're a piece of shit. Ugh.
Or evidence that...
That's going to tell you something in and of itself.
Well, that's it. Or the evidence that you are your higher self.
At the very least, moving towards that in the evolutionarily orientated version of you. And it's that sort of growth mindset stuff. If you're not aimed at growth, you're going to sit stuck.
And you're not a fucking tree, so move.
And even then, they move.
Right.
Upwards.
Up, yeah.
The best kind of move. And more importantly, the evidence suggests that they're a very integrated part. Like they make very complicated and intricate and energetically connective societies within themselves. Wouldn't you like to be one of those things too?
Okay, my tree analogy didn't work, right?
No, it's fucking on point, mate. I'm trying to just... So what is it? The largest organism that we've ever known to exist on this planet isn't an animal. It's a colony of spores. It's a mushroom.
Because mushrooms are fantastic.
But, that they found one in South America that was measured to be several hundred kilometers long.
All the mycelium that's under the ground?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
but that's like when you sort of...
Is that another podcast episode?
Maybe. But the analogy being like, I think it was Trevor Hancock, the guy when it comes to mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of describing this process where they had fungus remap the Japanese subway system because it found the most efficient way to transport nutrients from one end of the organism to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And all the efficiency experts in Japan, which, you know, without wanting to sort of big up Japanese people, they are stereotypically a fairly efficient and industrious people. And this simple slime mold taught them some shit about how you want to move people and make it more efficient. Anyway, the point being that you're part of a big chain of energy. This is going to be an analogy that makes sense to you, I hope. Do you know what the weird is?
The weird?
WYRD.
Okay, explain.
Do you know what the Norns are, the three Norns?
Yeah.
They are the weavers of the weird,
Yes.
which is the tapestry of fate.
Ah, yes.
Okay. The idea being that you are a thread as part of that tapestry.
Yep. So pull the fucker.
That's why the analogy of cutting the thread matters. But the necessity of keeping the thread of fate intact and on point requires that every thread play their part. No pressure, guys. But the world needs you.
Yeah. So stop being stuck energy and start being moving energy.
As an example. Because you have your part to play. Do you choose to play it or not? And a big part of this, like, you look for evidence. It's like, well, do you look for evidence as a way in which to enrich because I speak English as well, and step into your life? Or do you look for evidence by which to minimize and...
Well, step out the fuck out of it.
All of the above.
Yeah.
It's like you're part of a greater thing, and your higher self knows what that could be. But if you're stuck in your own trauma-y bullshit, you don't address yourself on that level, and you never become the real you. I think it was Abraham Hicks. She was describing this process where becoming the real you isn't evolving to be that person. It's unburying and unburdening that version of you that is already a thing. It's just kind of got to shrug off the trash-flavored beige.
That's it.
I'll rephrase it. Have I beaten around the bush enough yet?
Yeah, you totally have.
Okay. Satisfied with we look for evidence?
Yes, definitely.
In that case, be good.
Be kind.
Be smart. Oh, damn it.
Be your best self. And no bar fights.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.